we don't walk into War Memorial Stadium with a 7-0 lead. We walk in as 0-0. If it was that way a year ago, we've been 5-1 at home. Instead, we were 1-5. So we have to understand, like, we're gonna playing at home. We're gonna get everybody's. I mean, this is a great atmosphere that people play in, and you just look at what we just played in this past week. You know, a lot of people don't get excited to go on the road and play in that. People will get excited to come here because it's going to be a great atmosphere. We're going to get a great shot from Northern Iowa. They're coached well. Coach Stepsis, a new head coach there, was a 2-time, conference coach of the year when he was at Drake, and knows what he's doing. They coach him well, and they'll be very well prepared and come in here and we've got to expect them to play very well, and we need to play very well. We need to play very well because we just need to play well and to get to a second game. And so we're excited about all that. I feel like that we should make ginormous improvement in our program from week 1 to week 2, in large part because of the number of players that were kind of new to certain positions. And even you take a couple guys with experience like Walsh, Barnett, guys like that, they're playing a new position for the first time. So they're going to get better. And so that's the expectation, that we get better all the way across the board. So with that, we'll start out with questions.
Jay, you were a pretty good linebacker back in your playing days. Do you take any extra pride in watching a small school guy like linebacker like Braden have a debut like that when you've said he hasn't even played in front of a crowd bigger than the spring game?
Well, look, when we set out in the recruiting part to add players at that position, there were certain targets that we had in mind. Number one is the physical capability to play very well in the Mountain West, regardless of where that guy came from. But the second part was you wanted a guy that had a chip on his shoulder. I appreciated Braden Johnson. I even heard something that he said after the game, because it was brought up about, well, they got some guys from some smaller schools. He just wore that as a chip, and he will continue to wear that as a chip. And I love that part about him that way. And, he's got more than enough athletic ability. He should have been here the last 3 years. And so we're glad he's here now.
Just rewatching the tape, obviously of that Akron game, 426 yards of offense. I mean, did anything maybe stick out when you were watching the tape that you didn't see on game day?
Look, we didn't finish enough drives. We didn't get ourselves to the places that we needed to get to. I mean, we were 3 of 7 on 3rd and 2 or less, or 4th and 2 or less. Okay, and you can't sustain that type of, you can't sustain drives. You can't live in that space. We need to come out of a game where you're like 6 of 7, in that type of yardage. First drive of the game, I kind of showed I'll go for it if it's close in those situations. But the reality to it is that we need to be much more productive there in short yardage. And then I think, look, there's some guys. I'll use this as an example. There's some guys we had offensively kind of playing for the first time, Bryson Brantley and some things of that nature, right? There we had some guys defensively playing for the first time, like a Tyrese Boss, in that regard. We need a lot more of them to react the way Tyrese Boss did. Tyrese Boss, it was like, okay, it's my turn, I'm going to go. We had a couple other guys that had to work through some jitters and that type. We need a far better performance offensively, this week and going forward, with more people stepping up, more people doing the right things all the way through the course of the game. And so that's we'll get to that, but I have seen us perform far better on a practice field and in scrimmages in doing that, and then all of a sudden, boom, lights come on, and we had some guys not play as well as what they need to, and we've got to get that accomplished.
Coach, did you see any of that with those new guys leaving the game improve in the second half?
I don't know. That's hard to quantify. Whether there was a change in them in the second half and the first half. I mean, I think some of it was about the same for some of them. I thought Jackson Holman, you saw come on as the game went on. And, we had an expectation there that he would play well. We need more guys to play well at receiver. We're obviously going to need to use more running backs than what we used. We need to be better in short yardage. We've got to, John Mike Gillenborg's got to be more involved in certain things. So there's a lot of little areas that we sit there and go, okay, these have to be, checked off the list of what we need to get done.
Jay, this program hasn't exactly dominated FCS opponents in your time here. I mean, it took a last-second deal to beat Montana State. Obviously, last year didn't go your way. Why do these teams pose so many problems for the Cowboys in this building?
I mean, look, I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. Number one, we've played some pretty good ones, okay? And, I think we'll play a pretty good one this week too, I think in that regard. So let's just start there. There's other schools out there that you could play that nobody's heard of that you're going to line up and win by 50 points or something. That's not the case in this situation. So I also think, like a couple of them, I mean, like Montana State, the one year, they went to the FCS championship, and they were kind of loaded. There was a really, really good team. And then I also think there's been a couple hiding in there, the Portland State after Texas Tech. Well, we came off that Texas Tech game, and I thought maybe we didn't handle the following week the right way. We bang, bang, bang practice-wise. Next thing you know, I thought we were a little step slow going into that game. And again, we've got to expect in all this, like I said, Northern Iowa is a traditionally good program. And they've got a new coaching staff that has had success where they've been. They'll be ready to play when they come here, and their players are going to be excited to play here. And, we need to make sure that we do our part within that too. But I also like the Thursday night game because I like having the extra couple days to then, number one, let your team rest. We got back at 2 a.m. Thursday night, so we could take Friday and let them rest. We could have a workout on Saturday and do that. And then we can start right off today, and we're full pads, full go, and really crank up at the start of the week that a lot of times you wouldn't when you play on a Saturday. So I really like this part of it and to do that. And, look, I think there's part of it too sometimes that, we've had players and teams here in the past that don't realize. Look, there's a razor-thin margin between – guys that, you just saw Braden Johnson was playing Division II football. Who was our best defensive player the other night? Is Braden Johnson, right? Like, there's a razor-thin margin in a lot of these things as far as a guy that could play there and here and the whole thing. And so we always have to expect that. Our players will be ready, and we respect Northern Iowa. All of our coaches have a great deal of respect for that place and that program, through their time.
Coach Bo and I had kind of mentioned Jackson as a guy, again, kind of with the chip on his shoulder mentality. Are you kind of seeing that as a kind of a power forward guy that came here for more opportunity? Yeah,
and Jackson wants the opportunity and wants the playing time. But ever since Jackson's come here, like everything that about him is he's PR'd in everything since he's come here from a strength and conditioning performance standpoint. So he's continued to develop the right way. He does things the right way off the field, and all those things there. And I just think that, like, you see that payoff. He's going to go compete and play his butt off every play, and you see the payoff to it.
Yeah, Coach, I know you got lots of depth at RB this year, but we really only saw Sam Scott get carries at Akron. Why was that? And will we see more running backs in the rotation this weekend?
I think you'll see more here as we go. I think there was a couple things that happened in that game the other night. Number one, we we give Akron credit on certain things. They did a pretty good job with their game plan and had some players that could execute some of that. But we saw a lot of pressures, some of which we had not seen from them before. Sam has a better base of experience at certain things than some of the other guys would in that. Second part is that when you are in such a close game for so long, a lot of times you're just playing the guy who keeps on playing, and there wasn't any kind of a rotational to it and that type of thing. And we definitely want to play more backs. We definitely want to balance that out. I don't think it's sustainable anyway to have a guy carry the ball 29 times in a game over and over and over. I think we would not be happy with the result of that by the middle of the season and that type of thing.
A couple quick ones for you, Coach. Just didn't see a lot of Jalen Sargent in this one. Why is that? And then second of all, was the defense as good as it looked when you rewatched it on tape?
Yeah, first of all, with Sarge, he's got to play better. Okay, and there was some plays that he didn't play to the standard of what we wanted on those plays, and Coach Bonite, pulled him from there, and then in that situation, I mean, we could have played him again and done that. There's no injury situation. He's got to play better. He knows it. I talked with him on Saturday, at length about the fact of what the expectation is for you, and what that needs to be. He'll respond, and so I think you'll see a completely different Jalen Sargent this week, which is a very good thing. Defensively, look, I was really, really, really pleased defensively with the effort, number one, but the execution, number two. Akron tried a whole bag of things that they normally have a great deal of success with. There was tailbacks going vertical out of the backfield, sucker screens, which are kind of like the fake screens, and then try to get it deep. There was just a lot of different things that they were working and trying to get done. And, as we talk all the time defensively, and as you could take a 200-pound athlete that is a special athlete in the whole deal, and what really determines whether he's a good player or not typically weighs about 6 ounces, and they're on either side of the nose. It's your eyes. It's how good your eyes are. And our eyes in the secondary the other day were outstanding. We would have lost that game a year ago. We didn't have enough guys what had structure and discipline eye-wise to be able to play that way. It was very good to see kind of that group do that. Because once you're good at that, then you can become really, really good defensively. So I was happy with that part, but we got to do it again, and that's the big piece to it.
Jay, on that secondary, Andrew Johnson is a guy who's been in the program for a long time, but it seemed like he kind of developed into maybe a different player. Are you seeing that with him and the way he came out in this opener?
That was the best he's ever played, in terms of from a physicality standpoint and to do some of those things. And I think, look, we need him to play that way because he has the physical talent to play that way. And he's got experience that helps because this guy knows what to do all the way through and that. And so all that is very important. I thought Andrew did really well the other night. It was really good to see.
Coach, I know we talked in post game about Caden's performance. It wasn't his best one of his career so far. Is there anything in specific you guys are going to be looking at or working on with Caden this week to get him ready?
No, I mean, look, I think part of it is the fact that, Caden will stay with the play. Caden will be fine. I don't worry about that. I mean, he did some good things the other night. Look, the first series of the game, if we execute a block, we throw a bubble to Bryson Brantley that the corner triggers inside. If we make the block there, the safety had also triggered inside. This is a touchdown. Okay, so then you look at it and go, well, Caden Anderson threw a touchdown on his first drive. It was just a bubble screen, and all we had to do is execute the block. We didn't execute the block. And so, like a lot of times with the quarterback, so much of it comes as a result of everyone else around him on some of it. And I think that as everyone else raises their level of play, it needs to happen, then Caden's will come with it. There's a couple balls that Caden missed too. We had a little stop route to Bryson on the sideline that would have been a first down that we missed and that type of thing. And I think that was in the third quarter. And so there's just a few things there too. That it's a collective in that group. I thought there was good things offensively when you gain the yardage we gained and put ourselves in the position we put ourselves in on some of it. We just didn't finish, and we also left plays out there. That realistically, I think it's not you don't lack feasibility to say we could have had a 500-yard night and probably 2 more touchdowns. Okay, but we didn't, right? And so we've got to get that solved.
Jay, you and I appeared to have a pretty balanced offense in their opener. What problems do they possess, and Jay Johnson hates talking about anything, let alone himself. But will you tell the guys what a good quarterback he was at this program so long ago?
We'll tell a story about it at some point and do that for sure. But with what they did in the opener, I thought, like they're in a close game at halftime, and then I think they came in and specifically made a point to run the ball in the second half, really execute the run, which then sets up their play action game. Their quarterback does a good job off of play action in some of their boots and some of the routes that they were running off of it. But the run game with the two running backs, that one was a Tulsa transfer that has good ability, and the other one's a bigger guy, Babe Bowie, who's number 32. Like, he's a guy that they ran through Butler in the second half with the run game and certain things, and so I think they made a concerted effort when they got in at halftime. Is like, hey, we can go right at them and do that. So big part of it for us is to make sure we can handle that part of it right off the bat. And the second thing is with them is that when you go back on all their Drake video and that there's a variety of different things offensively that they're capable of, within their staff and what they've coached before. And so we have a variety of things that we need to prepare for, and that's something that we have to spend time on to do.
So Aaron Bull's first career shutout as a DC, are you kind of just telling him, hey, we should just do that all the time?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I sent his dad a text, because he was at the game, and I said it was great that you got to see Aaron's first shutout. But yeah, I mean, I said, and look, there's I joke about it, but I kind of, with some of the players, would even see him on Saturdays. I said, just do that. You know what I mean? Just do that. But really, that's what the best part about it was. We played 22 guys defensively. We've never done that here unless it's a blowout. Okay? The most that we ever got to in 23, we would play 3 linebackers, we'd play 4 D tackles, 4 D ends. Okay, there you're at 11. The same 3 safeties played every snap, so you're at 14 there. We played like 3 guys at corner, so 17. That's the most you ever got to. And we played 22 the other night. That pays dividends in multiple ways. Number one, when you come back to practice today and you come back and prepare for an opponent, you have a lot of guys that are now preparing to play because they know they're going to play. All right, so that's a big piece of it. Second piece of it is it helps you if you do get an injury, that you're not putting a guy in that hasn't been out there on the field and in a game and does all that. And we can get a lot better defensively than what we were. We can get a lot. I mean, we're not. Look, I think we got a great deal of improvement in this program that needs to take place and can take place, and we got to get a lot better offensively. We all know that. There's a lot of things that we can do better defensively than what we did Thursday night, and that'll be the expectation that we can get that done.
Coach, you mentioned J. Mike earlier. Why do you think he wasn't as involved as maybe people would have expected, and how do you plan to improve his usage?
I mean, look, you just focus on certain things, and I think, the other night, okay, we're running the ball, and then we have a sheet and a list of stuff that tries to get him the ball and tries to get Chris Durr the ball, right, and do those types of things. And so the other night, some of the things that were on the Chris Durr list were kind of hitting and doing better for us than some of the other things. Look, the difference in it is it's not basketball. That's what you tell guys at times. Like, okay, ball could go through the hoop and I just clap my hands and you inbound it to me and I can just crank up a shot. And I can go get a shot anytime I want and do that. Or we could say we're going to run a guy off 3 screens and get him the ball and he can just crank up some stupid step back shot and do that. Sometimes there's things that a defense is doing a little bit too that dictates where a ball goes and stuff like that. And then also there was one ball that was kind of behind him that I think he could have caught. There was another ball that we didn't put on him well enough in that situation. So there's a combination of things. He's got to get more touches. He's got to get more involved. We know that. But we also have to be more efficient in making that all happen too.
Good.
I just real quick, I didn't see really any major injuries or anything. Any injury updates for guys coming back or anything?
No,
this
I
week?
mean we're healthy. We come out of it good. Bogar will be back this week too. So that's good because that gives us a starter defensively I mean, he would have started in the first game. So he'll be back. He'll be in a cast, for, I don't know, a week or two, something like that. But he's fine. Everything else, so we're still rocking along good health-wise.
Just really quickly on Chris Durr, how special can he be?
Oh, I mean, well, I think you see it. I mean, he's really good. The biggest thing about Chris is that Chris brings a great attitude every day. And so, like there's no, like Chris is great in the fact that I don't worry about Chris Durr off the field. I don't worry about whether Chris Durr is going to come to a workout and have energy. I don't worry about whether he's going to come to practice and have energy. Look, I mean, I probably divulge too much stuff, but we do a drug test, there's nothing in the guy, right? Like, he just does stuff right. He's what you want. He does it the right way. Which we've got a lot of guys that do it that way too. And so we're fortunate with that. But no, he's a dream for a head coach.